Today I will tell you how, in the 14th century, the Golden Horde dealt a devastating blow to Europe, wiping out half of its population. The Golden Horde was a Turkic state that spanned a vast territory. Officially, they called their state Ilogulus, which means Great State in the Turkic language. The main part of the Golden Horde's army was made up of Kazakhs who lived in the territory of present-day Kazakhstan. At that time, the Great Silk Road played a crucial role in global trade. However, the conflict between the Golden Horde and the Ilkhanate in Iran complicated trade relations in the Middle East. As a result, the Golden Horde was forced to establish alternative trade routes that bypassed Iran. These routes passed through the city of Kaffa in Crimea. Since the population of the Golden Horde consisted mainly of nomads, shipbuilding and seafaring were poorly developed. Taking advantage of this situation, the Genoese, a people from the territory of modern-day Italy experienced in maritime trade, proposed a partnership with the Golden Horde. The Genoese leased Crimea from the Golden Horde and paid taxes for the use of its cities. In addition, they paid duties on trade operations. In return, they transported goods from the Golden Horde and China to Europe by sea. This partnership turned out to be beneficial for both sides and brought significant profits. However, over time, the Genoese began to abuse the privileges they had been granted. In the early 14th century, they grew significantly wealthier and became a serious power. They established their own authority in Crimea and created an independent system of governance. Moreover, they started to evade taxes by hiding part of their income. Most outrageously, they began capturing some residents of the Golden Horde and selling them into slavery. This particularly angered Tofte Chan of the Golden Horde when he learned that his own subjects were being enslaved. Such a situation could seriously undermine the authority of the Chan, as rumors might spread among the people that the Khan cannot protect his own people even on his own land. Therefore, Tofte Chan could not remain indifferent to what was happening. In 1308, he immediately gathered an army, launched a campaign to Crimea, captured the city of Kaffa, and set it on fire. When the Golden Horde army arrived, the Italians panicked, abandoned everything, and hurriedly fled on their ships. However, after the death of Tan Tofte, Ken Uzbeg came to power. Taking advantage of the situation, the Italians established diplomatic relations with the new Khan and received permission to return to Crimea. Once again occupying the key trading posts, they became significantly wealthier over the following decades. Learning from past events, the Genoese took into account the strength of the Golden Horde and the nomads' ability to quickly assemble an army and launch sudden attacks. Therefore, they built a powerful fortress in Kaffa, which later became one of the most impregnable in all of Europe. The next conflict occurred during the reign of King Janibek. This time, the Italians quarreled with Muslim merchants and killed several of them. Since the Golden Horde was a Muslim state, the killing of Muslim by Christians was considered a serious crime and subject to harsh punishment. King Janibek demanded that the Genoese hand over the culprits, but they refused to comply. Enraged, Janibek gathered an army and once again launched a campaign against Crimea. Upon arrival, he was astonished at how fortified the city of Kaffa had become. In this campaign, the Golden Horde's army was equipped only with catapults intended to destroy city walls. Despite a prolonged siege and constant bombardment with stones, no significant progress was made. Meanwhile, the plague began to spread among the troops of the Golden Horde, and some of the warriors started to die. Realizing that the situation was deteriorating, King Janibek made a cunning decision. He ordered the catapulting of the plague-infected corpses into the city. During this time, the Italians took advantage of a bypass route, boarded their ships, and hastily fled to Europe. However, some of them, having come into contact with the infected bodies, had already contracted the plague. Along the way, they stopped at ports in various countries, where they managed to infect the local populations as well. As a result, the plague known as the Black Death spread rapidly across Europe and became one of the greatest catastrophes in human history. According to modern scientific research, about 50 million people died from this epidemic in Europe, approximately 50–60% of the continent's population at the time. Globally, the plague claimed the lives of around 200 million people. In conclusion, the wrath of the Golden Horde's Khanjanabik over the killing of several Muslim merchants did not end with a mere military response. It culminated in the use of the most terrifying biological weapon of its time: plague-infected corpses. This decision later turned into a catastrophe for all of Europe. Had the Italians not violated the established agreements and refrained from acting against Muslim, Europe's population today might have been twice as large. Subscribe to my channel. Here I talk about important historical events that are not always mentioned in textbooks.